Hello, this is Drake Spirit and Quickslicks the Martian, uh, with another Happy Martian Funtime Dragon Hammer cast.
That wasn't even remotely it.
it's,
We're all juggled up.
it's terrible because I might have come up with the name. All right.
So, our last 4 videos went pretty well. They were with Chase at the helm, or not Chase, Drake. And coming up, we've got
Ockhammer.
Ockhammer. Yeah. So it's going to be 4 videos with Ockhammer's perspective.
Mm-hmm. We have Ockhammer on the bottom, and his opponent this round is Sam S. And Sam will be at the top. And
Are you going to link their decks in the description or something like that?
I think we will. I think that's a great idea.
What a professional operation we're becoming.
Don't tell anyone. Shit. All right. So taking a look at the deck that Sam is playing, it's called Regulator Hartley. We're just off to one rip-snorting good time on this, my first cast.
And what was Andy's?
Andy was playing the Placebo of Firstpath.
I think his performance that night was okay, so maybe not completely a placebo.
Yeah.
Also, a difference from this batch of videos versus the other one is that now we are playing Archon, right? Your set was sealed?
That is correct. So in this, in Archon, the opponents get 2 minutes in which they get to review each other's deck lists so they can develop an idea as to what's there and some things they may have to play around.
Also, given this is a chain-bound event, it's possible that these decks have won before, and we'll start with chains. Here you see, we at Fantasy Flight have some little cards that we've made to declare to your opponent if you have any chains or power levels. Both players in this one at 0.
Yep.
Decks that haven't done stellar at any previous events.
Mm-hmm.
Players, however, who have. Sam Smisek and Andy both show up week after week and are both notedly competent players.
Yep. It looks like Sam riding a wormhole right into a Grecking, which is a great card to get right out of the gate.
However, Andy does have 2 pretty beefy Brobnars, so Grecking is going to kill itself if it takes more than one swing at those.
Absolutely. I would have liked to have seen the Hebe come out a little bit later. He doesn't really... you don't get the most use out of him until there are a large number of small creatures on the board.
If you end up with him in your opening hand, even after mulliganing, though, wouldn't you just put him down? Get him going?
I think for me it would depend on my opponent's deck. If I saw a lot of small untamed creatures, I think I would probably sit on Hebe for a turn or two, just to see if I could get a little bit more utility use out of him.
Interesting. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. But we do see that Sam has an Anomaly Exploiter on the board.
And just put damage on everyone with Twin Bolt and missions, so they are all vulnerable to being Anomaly Exploited. Anomaly Exploiter destroys any creature with damage on it. 1 creature with damage on it per use, I believe.
Yes, sir. Oddly enough, he didn't use it. He played the Twin Bolt Emission.
He only just put it down and was probably exhausted. Because he's only done the 1 Logos turn, right?
I believe he's gone Logos twice now.
Oh, I'm not paying enough attention.
Alright. Playing an unguarded camp just for the Ember. An early tremor, doing some serious work. It's going to be really interesting to see if Sam is able to capitalize on those two creatures he has. Unfortunately, it's...
Having gone Brobnar, he's got nothing to use right now.
Yeah. Andy with a great play. Playing a charrette to capture all three of his opponent's Ember and then capitalizing on that by playing a Terror immediately after.
They work so good together. That dis combo. I've seen it dozens of times. It's right up there as a staple alongside like shooting your own bad penny with your secret needles.
I am consistently amazed as to the number of players that I still run into who are afraid to throw their own creatures away when the amber that they're going to gain from sacrificing them is going to be so much higher than what it would be if they just leave them on the board. An example that I routinely see of this is something like an urchin. You know, you'll have an urchin and a seeker needle on the board, and you know the opponent will assume that they're going to use that urchin to reap multiple turns in a row, as opposed to just playing it, stealing one, seeker needling it to kill it, and then just gain another ember immediately.
I feel like Urchin is in a good spot for being annoying to target and maybe not worth it for some players because he's got elusive and he's only 1 damage. And yeah, that's a trickle of amber that you don't want them to have, but ideally you'd be playing additional threats alongside that Urchin, further giving him obscurity.
Alright, Sam laying a Schuler to steal one from Andy, and a Terror gaining nothing.
The Terror he got from Grekking killing it and then mind controlling a copy of it.
Excellent. Andy using that turn just to develop his Brobnar board, unstunning his creatures and playing a Fire Spitter.
That Fire Spitter can do the 1 damage needed to take out Grekking. So if that Grekking is going to do anything else this round, or coming up, it's only going to be to put out 7 damage. Unless he has some means of healing it, but I doubt that.
Yeah. So what would you do in this situation?
Oh, I was just like thrilled that Fire Spitter was going to be able to take it out, preferably before it slaps you for 7 damage. I think Andy's got it under control. I mean, they're going really fast because they're both competent players, you know? So a lot of developments are just flying out that are hard for us to keep up with because they know their own hands. We're only seeing things once they've already enacted a plan.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that he put the Blood of the Titans on the Crump. He had 2 very, very strong selections between Grekking and Crump. And I can't fault him for the decision that he made. Crump's ability to just melt Ember becomes absolutely critical in the later game.
Crump reduces the enemy's amber pool by 1 every time it gets a kill, right?
Yes. Oh, Andy with a bait and switch. That should put him on a key. Playing another naughty, unstunning the one previously.
Andy with his delicious Kool-Aid amber.
He's the only player I've seen with blue amber so far.
It's completely within the rules. The lore.
It is.
Not the card art. I've never seen a card with blue amber on it so far.
No, we've seen purple, and we've seen the color that everybody else has.
Also red.
Also red.
All the crystally things in the Untamed are amber.
All right. Looks like Sam made a concentrated effort to focus down the undamaged Noddy, throwing the terror into it and Crump. Crump melting an ember, taking Andy off of his key.
So that Crump would be dead if it wasn't for the Blood of the Titans, making it huge.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting note about that is that Titans are being added to the game in the next expansion. There will be a new class of giant. Rodnar has currently giants, but a Titan would be a giant even by giant standards. Enormous. The ones that we've seen come with the location tag.
I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I do not envy Andy having to deal with those 3 toxins that Sam just played.
So every time a toxin reaps, it can send something back to your hand, right?
Every time a toxin reaps, it will discard a card from your hand.
Oh.
Go after. Let's go after my terror there. All right, and then it deals
Andy going after his own terror.
So that's 1 for the overlord.
There it is.
1 for the attack.
As you have foretold, Danii, there is the death of Grekking.
1 for the terror.
Whew. You can't really afford to take 7 damage from something.
So he stays out with 4.
Yep, the rest of these take 1. I don't got enough damage.
There you go.
Andy gaining 2 Ember from that because of Loot the Bodies and Warsong.
Let's not put 3 on him. And I will pass my turn there. Check 8.
Check 8. Alright. FFG.
It's going to be interesting to see how Sam capitalizes on those toxins.
Yes. The question, I think, is going to come down to what he has in hand. If he goes Dees, he has that Dominator bubble, so he can still Crump. So going Dees with his current board position makes a lot of sense, but what does he have?
So, yeah, I'll go Dees.
Yep, and there it is. Reap for 4. And it looks like he's trying to figure out what he wants to throw the Crump into. If I were him, I think I would just Reap with that Crump. And that's what he does. For 5 Ember, Andy discarding 3 cards. Oof. Andy, unfortunately, just lost his answer.
Discarding 3 is usually rarely going to be real bad.
Exactly.
Alright, now that's all I got. Sticking with the board.
I'm gonna forge for 6.
So that Poison Wave would have killed all the toxins, and he mentioned he had a Rise, did he?
Mm-hmm.
Use Nadi's ability to steal 1.
Fair enough.
Andy going Shadows, taking his opponent off his key with Noddy.
Cool 2 to everything. So Nadi's gone.
Oh!
Oh, he had another one.
Gotta get rid of the toxins. He's at 1 life.
Lost half his hand. There was a pretty decent chance he was going to lose both Poison Waves.
To steal 1.
Yeah.
And I will put my key that I forged and pass turn.
Damn. You really turned that turn around, man.
That was an excellent turn.
Get all these
Yeah,
keys.
good job, Andy. He leveled it
I'll
out.
stay on. I'm just sitting duck.
And you had another thingy.
I did, yeah.
2 Poison Waves in hand. That was very fortunate for Andy.
I was gonna say that's one
It
of the-
was unfortunate that one of them got sniped,
So I'm
but
gonna go logos.
ultimately he didn't come out too worse for wear.
Taking a quick look at his deck list, there are only a couple other cards in there that would have been such an efficient solution.
Mm-hmm.
Poison Wave was really what he wanted. It's great that he had both of them.
I could use my ability, but I don't really want
Wonder how long he'd been sitting on them, though.
to. No combo.
That is a good question.
Play like the cards.
Sam, with a very entertaining library access turn, playing a total of 4 creatures, 2 of which have been bat drones.
Yeah, great time for another Poison Wave. They're both sitting right there in the discard.
I want to pass turn.
Yo mama master.
Check 6.
That's a rare Brobnar card. This creature gains taunt and fully heal this creature.
Andy also playing a Grenade Snib. This is quite possibly one of my favorite utility creatures because it gets to deal 2 damage to an enemy creature, and when it's destroyed, they lose 2 Ember.
I gotta say, every time in a game with you where you choose Brobnar, everyone else gets sad.
Yep. Fight there, steal 1.
That's only because I love Brobnar right now, and I love decks with Grenade Snibs.
It's like, I might as well just pick up my Amber before you even choose what you're gonna do with it, because I know I'm not gonna have it anymore.
Yeah, Brobnar has a lot of really good answers that just involve your opponent's losing Ember. Bumpsy, Grenade Snib, Burn the Stockpile. These are all excellent responses to an opponent who has too much Ember.
Steal 1. Okay. No, Reap would technically mechanic goes 8.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na, background.
Bad word.
Yep, capitalizing on that Urchin's elusive to steal 1.
Batrons, of course, have Skirmish. They steal 1 Amber whenever they fight, and they're very good at fighting.
Batron is Logos' answer to the Umbra out of Shadows. Would that be an answer, or would that just be the same card reskinned?
They do that sometimes. There are some cards which have just identical effects.
And Guardian Demon. So I would heal 2 off of. Let's heal 2 off of him.
Ooh, Guardian Demon taking out Crump.
You've been alive a long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that needs to go away. And then I will hand this your Patron. And that's all I have.
I'll make a key for 6.
Yep.
Andy
Got one of them.
developing his disboard.
Well, we've got a Guardian Demon. Guardian Demon's a lot stronger than they appear at first glance. The ability to take a swing at something and then move it around, the damage that you just did to yourself, replace that somewhere else.
Could.
It's almost like a slightly weaker, slightly more useful version of Gabos Longarms. Gabos Longarms is the disc creature that, when they attack, they deal their damage to a different creature than the one they are fighting. This is a great way to actually capitalize on your opponent's elusive creatures.
War drummer smash.
Oh, jeez. So what are we?
Sam playing 2 smashes and then a War Drummer to stun a total of 4 of Andy's creatures.
Grenade stub is stuck. I don't want him around. And I'll play a Mighty Javelin. Good turn, buddy.
Well,
I was hoping.
there's plenty of ways to kill a stunned Grenade Snib.
It's like, just reaping for 3 seems decent, you know? Puts me on the threat.
Poison Wave comes to mind.
Then you got some more guys in the
Just a few more cards before that gets shuffled back in.
I'm gonna go Brobnar.
Looks like both players are rapidly approaching the end of their deck.
I've got this dude, Fire Spitter down there.
Andy playing a pile of skulls and another Fire Spitter.
Follow the leader so everybody can attack.
It's a little bit hard to tell
That's a really good.
what the key
That's a really
situation
good
is.
turn.
I believe they're both at 1 key. Is that true?
Sam has forged 2 keys. Andy, I believe, is still working on his second.
Want to do anything with Urchin, and he's not gonna attack. So
Andy is definitely not in a good place right now.
Yeah, follow the leader's awesome with Warsong, dude.
yeah.
I had some
Well, and
really
it's got a war song, and it's also got a loot the
But
box,
he
so that
just
really can
made some very good use out of that follow the leader to unstun his entire line.
Maybe it's just a reaction that I've developed from playing frail Martian creatures that get one turn before they're shot down and having crystal hives now and then. But when I get close to the end of the game, I have a tendency to just sprint for it. Just forget the enemy lineup, forget what he can do, make what I can, and close it out. If he can stop me, that can actually be a large issue for me. Letting him gain momentum at a crucial moment.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When it comes down to the last key, I more often than not find myself in the same position where both me and my opponent are just paying as close attention as possible, doing as much math as we possibly can to see who can get more Ember in a single turn. And in the later turns like that, it's really not uncommon for you to see 4, 5, or even 6 Ember being generated out of one house between cards in hand and creatures on board.
Well, is that a shackles? Melting 1 amber every turn until it can be dealt with?
It is. This is going to be very unfortunate for Andy. Sam dominating his Titan mechanic to take out the Snudge.
And then, let's see.
Word on the street is that Sam wants to go to the Adepticon Vault Tour. This wouldn't be the deck that he's using, but he is a decently skilled player. Could make some progress there. He's going with some other notable Friday night names.
Yeah, I've been really impressed and very happy with the level of competition that I've seen out of our players on Friday. More often than not, when I sit down across from my opponent, I know that it's never going to be an easy win. I'm going to have to grind out every single key, and I think it's just plays like that that make you a better player.
I mean, it bears noting that everyone in the room, regardless of their skill level, is extremely friendly, and that you yourself, because of your performance, tend to put yourself up against the stronger players.
Throw a shower, this into shuffles, clearly. So you lose 2 from grenade, and then I actually capture 1.
Andy throwing his grenade snip into the shaffles.
Every time one of your creatures dies, I capture 1.
And capturing one with a pile of skulls.
Crank it up whenever I get it back.
Yeah, let's say so you lose 1 off of that.
Oh, from the capture. Yep.
Capture. And then we got
All of this trickery only counts if he has creatures to work with, though. Needs some more bodies.
you're good. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
Fire Spitter into Pat Drone. So I take 1.
That is unfortunately one of the very few downsides to Brobnar is they need bodies to work with before they can do anything.
Yeah, so many of their effects are fight-based,
So then I capture
always dwindling your hit points away.
We'll take 1 smash. I'll take 1 smash.
Fire Spitter against a weak board would loot the bodies.
Oh yeah, 10.
That's always an entertaining thing to see.
You know what? And then I didn't gain my 2 for my 2 attacks.
Or against a very squishy board of small, untamed, and shadows creatures.
And pass turn there.
Alright.
Only 1.
Library of the Damned seems a little out of place in Sam's deck.
I haven't seen him make use of it yet.
If you get it early, I suppose archiving is really just a way of improving your cards, right? Because you store something, you haven't really lost it, but your hand size now has an open spot for a new card to go into it.
I'll go Brognar.
I would agree with that. I would also add that archiving a card, and specifically archiving one house or trying to target one specific house with your archives will allow you to have bigger turns, which will hopefully put you in a better position. Once you have those really big swingy Logos or Dis or Brobnar turns or Sanctum, you can rapidly find yourself without Ember or in a position that you just absolutely don't want to be in.
What is that? Bump and crump?
It's the double bump crump. Yeah, not good.
We could give that a name. We could call it like the Brobnar Boogie. It sounds like a song.
I like it.
Oh, Titan Mechanics gotta be one of them.
Yeah, Titan Mechanics, so it's going to be these two for sure. And then
Andy playing 3 Fates.
Bumpsy, 10 case.
The 3 strongest creatures removed, and in the case of a tie, Andy may choose.
You know, I'm gonna go with Bookton.
Yeah, fair enough. He is the one that does the most once he's on board.
Yeah,
These guys'
exactly.
damage is kind of already done.
And let's see. Yeah, so now there's 3, I capture 3. So I'm just gonna go 1 across the board.
Oh, sure.
Andy making really good use out of that pile of skulls.
It really only does super good when Pile of Skulls comes out early.
Yeah,
it came
Pile
out
of Skulls is
super
actually
late.
nuts.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of control.
And,
The Adepticon Vault Tour is going to be fascinating. I'm so excited to see if any local names make it there, but the idea that people in the region are all going to go there and bring their best is going to be fierce.
I've been talking with a number of our players in the local scene, just trying to get a feel for what kind of decks they're going to bring, and I had a chance to sit down with Tyler and talk with him about it, and he said that the decks that he's bringing are, you know, his really crazy decks, his one-turn kill decks, and out of a player like him, I think that's going to be exciting to see. I wish we could be there to record some of his games.
One turn kill is very influential, especially because it's impactful, it's memorable, whichever side you're on. I wonder what will be done to address that. Because surely there's no universe in which that doesn't get adjusted in some way coming up, right?
I agree. I'm going to be interested to see how the designers take that into consideration.
Oh, they're aware of it.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
I think we're gonna go Logos.
okay.
Go Batman.
Sam going Logos, playing a Bat Drone. Another Twin Bolt emission,
So you get 1 back.
targeting Urchin and Succubus. Succubus surviving. Succubus dying?
Then I'll go Quixo. And then Dr. Esquiterra, you have 1 key, right? It's
Yes.
like game 1. Go to 4.
Maybe she was killed by the Anomaly Exploiter?
I believe you are correct. The Anomaly Exploiter was tapped. I believe that's the first or second time in this game that that's been used, which is a little surprising to me.
I'm going to go Dice. Play Schuler to steal
They're
1.
very good at pausing each other, slowing each other down. But I think it's inevitable.
Pass turn. It's
That progress will be made somewhere. Like capturing Amber with Pile of Skulls just buys you time. He still gets the Amber back.
Your opponent can absolutely get the Ember back from it being captured. It gets a little more challenging out of Sanctum, if for no other reason that the Sanctum crew has a lot of really beefy creatures with armor.
So there, the challenge isn't so much getting the Amber back, it's what you lose along the way.
Mm-hmm. Sanctum makes it very expensive to get your Ember back, to the point where a lot of people will just look at it and go, do I want to waste these 2 creatures trying to get this back, or do I want to just make more?
Yeah.
Grekking back on the board.
Missed you, buddy. What's up? It's been so long.
Let's see what he does with these 2 Dominator Baubles.
Dominator bobble.
I'm going to be really interested to see if he uses his Library of the Damned.
One of them goes to Quixo for some skirmish or draw.
Kill him.
Yep, steal one.
And bad draw.
So steal once you get 2 off.
Yes, go to 6. Then I will.
So what are your feelings on Quixo?
I have a lot of difficulty Hey, there's the library getting some use. I have a lot of difficulty analyzing the value of a Logos deck. I don't know, it just doesn't click with me. It never feels like it's a cohesive enough amount of any specific thing. And Quixo is another example because he's one of like 3 Logos cards that really wants to just fight all the time.
All right.
And I don't really choose Logos thinking, oh, it's time to fight. You know, he's just a little bonus that happens while I'm doing whatever else it is that my random
This is what we're gonna do.
handful of Logos cards can do.
Schuler is going to fight your back.
I think it's very interesting because you're absolutely right. When you go Logos, you're expecting to do more utility work. Archiving cards, reaping to draw cards, just flat out drawing cards. But you don't typically look at Logos and think,
Kind of bleeding out.
I'm going to sit down and clear your board with creatures out of Logos.
There's stuff in my hand I just kind of want to get out.
So perhaps Quixo should be seen as a utility that gets you a card and does a sprinkle of damage, kind of like Twin Bolt Emissions. These Twin Bolt Emissions in critter form.
Mm-hmm.
I'll,
Andy playing a Hand of Dis to get rid of the Succubus.
Blood of the Titan is on this bump seat. Have him fight that dude.
Blood of the Titans going on to Bumpsy for some reason. Not sure why he wouldn't put that on Overlord Grekking.
Steal one.
But it's a capture.
Yeah, or capture, yeah.
You gain 1 from it.
And then,
You can put that wherever you want, but it's not really gonna matter.
fine if it's right there. Mighty Javelin to 2.
Things are
Andy's?
things are really not looking good for Andy right now.
I had a little more positive spin I was going for. I was about to say, it's amazing that Andy has held in there as long as he has.
There's Andy with the concession.
So much board control. I was like playing super conservative.
This was definitely not a good one for Andy.
We ended up doing the shoutcasting on it.
Still, he's a fighter. He made him work for it.
He is, and that's one of the things that I really admire about Andy. Is he'll sit down, he'll play it, and he will give it his best every time.
It's also interesting to talk to him before and after rounds because he puts a lot of thought into what happened and how he can improve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would not be surprised if we see some major improvement.
He was in the first batch of 4 that we did. There was one round with Andy where he made a choice revolving. I think he threw away Spirit's Way rather than using it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about that, and he said, yeah, watching himself do that really changed his perspective, hearing the different arguments of how he could have used that differently.
Yeah.
It's something that differentiates top players from casual players. How much they're willing to spend their energy improving. Little improvements.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think with that, we'll wrap up this video and stick around for the next one. It's right around the corner.